So today, I would love to tell you this video has been very well planned out, when in reality, it hasn't. I've just been listing some stuff on eBay, some of the stuff I've made to try and get some money to do future projects, because I don't really want to be spending lots of my money on projects at the minute because I don't have much. But I started doing that, and then I got sidetracked and started doom scrolling on Instagram. Editor note, follow me on Instagram. And I don't know why, but at the minute I've been seeing lots of people doing DIY screen printing. And I say that because they still use some kind of specialist equipment that just feels a little bit out of reach for like real DIY. So this week's video is going to be an actual DIY screen printing project. And I've got you down here because I'm going to do a quick drawing of the plan. For this project, I've done it before and had fairly good results. Not as good as genuine screen printing will get you, but that's the whole purpose of it being DIY. So for this, you're going to need some kind of frame. Now, you can go and get a canvas and wreck a canvas, but that seems a bit wasteful. Or you can go and spend the 30-ish quid to go and get a decent sized frame. Or you can go to a pound shop or a charity shop and get a frame that, as long as it's got a relatively flat face, like that, not an all textured ornate thing, as long as it's flat, it should be fine. And you can get quite decent sized ones for really quite cheap from certainly pound shops or charity shops. I always try and check for charity shops first, then if I have no luck, I'll go to a big pound shop. But that's only part of the issue. The other key part, which is where a lot of these DIY videos deviate from being DIY, is they'll then use proper screen printing fabric, which, great, works, and it's not super expensive, but it's a little bit out of my budget for proper DIY. So my workaround is, and always has been, using organza, and not like ripping apart loads of old organza bags. I just go to my local fabric store and I get even quite a large organza weave. Not as large as this, obviously. This is just for the plan. And I've managed to get that to work. I don't know why no one else, as far as I'm aware anyway, has tried this, but this is the way I do it. So I'm going to go and collect these two resources. I know I've got certainly a frame I can use. I'm hoping my organza is here because it's just gone 8 o'clock at night and I can't actually get to the fabric shop now, because if it is even open, public transport isn't going to be on my side. So I'm going to hunt these down and at the very least try and start tonight. If not, plan to go and get some of this organza tomorrow. So very upsettingly, my usual organza isn't here. It must still be at my mum and dad's house. But I've remembered I bought this the other day. Now this is from like a homeware store, and it's an old lace curtain. It's got glittery floral patterns in it, but it's just around the border. The rest of it is just thin organza, thinner than the stuff I normally get. Like that's doubled over and you can still see my hand through it fairly fine. And this was 20p. Now I know you probably won't look out as well as this to find stuff, but still, half a metre of organza is, I think it was £3 last time I bought some. And if you want to be fancy, you can buy a nice colour. I just bought green because I needed that for a different project. But that's the organza I'm going to use. And then the picture frames, I'm working on a gallery wall in my hallway. So every time I've been going to pound shops and seeing packs of cheap frames, I've just been picking a couple up so I can put photos in them, and I've got reserves. This is a pack of 3 for £3. So far, I'm going to be on literally £1 to make a screen printing frame, which isn't too bad. Now, obviously, you're limited to the size of these. These are not the biggest ones I've got, but the biggest ones I'm willing to sacrifice for this. as I say, you could go to a charity shop as well and get a frame that way, but I've got these in-house, so I'm going to just use one of these and some of this organza-y curtainy stuff, which I've really looked out on because it was in a sealed bag and it just said net curtain. I didn't know it was going to be this perfect, so this is definitely the project this is meant for. Now I'm going to go and get some more materials and set my camera up so it's not in my hand, and then we're going to come back and start making the frame. So I'm back with a better setup. Well, I say better, it is a bit better. I am still sat on my office floor, my workshop floor, sorry, because it's a mess. But next step, as I said, getting a stapler. So if you've got a proper staple gun, like I do, you can use these. This one's actually got an attachment to turn it into a normal stapler. But for keeping it DIY, I'm not going to use this. I'm going to use instead this kind of stapler, because most, if not all, of this kind of stapler has the ability to actually open up, and you can use it kind of like that. It's definitely not what it's meant for, but it works. So with that in mind, I'm now going to reassemble myself into another better position for this, because I've already realized this isn't going to work, and I'll be back in a minute. Right, I'm back. My phone is now charging. Apologies if the video is bad because it is done on a phone. Or it could just be bad because I can't edit videos, but we'll gloss over that one. So I'm set up. I've got scissors, I've got a stapler. I'm going to unpack these, and then I'm going to cut some fabric so that it's just about 2 inches bigger on all 4 sides than one of my photo frames. My fabric is now cut out, so the next step is just to staple the fabric to the frame, and I'm doing it to make sure that the frame front is at the bottom of the stack, so that when you're screen printing you get a nice flat full contact to the surface you're screen printing, as opposed to if you were to do it that way you might end up all bumpy and lumpy. So I'm going to go back into time-lapse mode and just staple that on, and the key feature for this is getting it as tight as you can. So that's done, and if you listen very closely you can hear that it is actually taut. There's not much bend in it at all, and I've only used a few staples to do that. I've not made the edges all nice because it doesn't really matter, and that's as simple as that. It's so far we're on £1 for, well, 99p for the frame, a fraction of pence for the fabric. Even if you end up buying half a metre of organza, you're still only using a small amount, certainly for a frame this size, and a few staples, which again, pence a piece. And that's it for making the frame, really. So the next bit is actually getting your image onto the frame. Now, you can use fancy vinyls, you can use fancy glues and the proper stuff for screen printing, but again, this is supposed to be DIY. And I recently saw a YouTube video from Laura Camp, who absolutely love her videos, but she did a screen printing video and she used masking tape or painter's tape, whatever the funny coloured stuff is. I've just got plain masking tape. Now, I've never done this. I've normally done it with a cutter machine, cut a sticker and done it that way. So I'm going to give the taping method a try. And I'm going to start just by doing a frame around the outside, blocking the very edges, because it's a bit more difficult to get to those with whatever you end up using to spread your ink or your paint through. So I'm going to time-lapse mode that, and then I'll be back. So that time-lapse took a little bit longer, simply because I taped the corners and the edges, simply because my OCD said I wanted to. You don't have to, as I say, it just makes it a bit tidier. And while I had the tape out, I figured, what the hell, why not? So the next step is to do the design. Now you can do this one of two ways. You can either have a rectangle of colour with your design the same colour as the fabric underneath, or the mirror of that. I can't figure out which way I'm going to do it, so I'm going to just see what happens. And because my initials are NA, I'm just going to do an N with an A in it. Nothing too fancy, but if I ever become a professional YouTuber, that's probably what I would try and do my branding as. So, frame, I'm going to just get some tape and do my design. I'm going to do it portrait to try and fill the space a bit. Am I? Yes, I'm going to do my design in the middle of this space. Sorry, the cogs were whirring then. So to do it, I'm going to take some tape and just cut it and do my design, and I will do that in time lapse as well. For this bit, I'm just using wood glue. I did do a massively over complex speech about this, but I'm using wood glue. It's cheap, I'm just applying it with a brush. So it's the next day, and all I did was remove the tape with just a pin to help me get underneath, and now I'm ready to screen print. I'm using this glow-in-the-dark acrylic paint. You can use other paints. I've used poster paint before. I was also going to try it with wall paint, but I didn't get around to trying it. I just used a thin piece of card on the frame. The last step is to actually just start screen printing, and you do this by first flooding the frame with your ink or paint, and then you place it on your material and use a piece of card just to go over it and push the rest of the paint through. As you can see, it comes up with some really good detail. Some of them aren't perfect, but that's the nature of it being homemade. I'm going to do a couple of these. I think we'll just turn them into some bunting. So I'll see you in the reveal when I've made the bunting out of it. Another quick wrap up. I absolutely love how it works. The fact that you do get some imperfections, I think really leans into the fact that it is a DIY process. I'll put a quick price breakdown on the screen compared to what I did and actual screen printing. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed. I hope if you do want to try screen printing, this is a gateway into it that's more accessible than just starting. And yeah, give it a try. I'll see you in the next video. Bye!